Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Rose to No Ceilings podcast, where today we have a special guest from She Leads To. Her name is Havin. I would love for you to introduce yourself, Havin.
Yes, hello. I'm Havin. I'm 15 years old and I'm from Germany. And I'm the founder of She Leads To, which is a non-profit organization. And besides that, I'm a soccer player in Germany and also a referee.
Yeah, that's so cool. First of all, well-rounded. Good for you. But do you want to tell us a little bit about what She Leads To is?
She Leads To is an organization which mainly focuses on trying to inspire other young women by sharing success stories from women who are currently in leadership, but also what other women have accomplished, just to show how everything is impossible and possible, which is also something that some might, well, sorry, which is of course, sometimes you think there's a limit to something, but when you see that others have already accomplished it or something in the similar direction you want to go, it is great to see how they did it and how they did it, and that it's important to talk about it nowadays.
That's very, very insightful. I think here on our podcast, we try to do very similar things. So that really touches my heart to hear that.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, what initially gave you that insight to these issues? What inspired you to start it? It's not super usual where we see something come so early.
Mhm.
So I've always struggled to prove myself or to be accepted in certain environments. My interests are mainly sports or other things that are man dominated. For example, I'm a soccer referee and I'm the only female referee in the whole region. And I also am refereeing for boys.
Mhm.
So it is really hard for me to, especially I'm not the tallest and I'm the youngest everywhere I go. So it's really hard for me to just prove myself and try to be in the leader role I have to be in.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was just trying to set an example for other girls by just starting watching articles or calling newspapers just to show what is happening in my story so I can try to reach more girls who do the same job as me. So I thought, why not go on a wider range
Mhm.
and try to reach out to people internationally? So I thought that maybe not sharing my story, but other stories, it would just send the same message that being in those environments where you always constantly have to prove yourselves, that there are other people who did the same things, and it's great to receive that support because how could other people know about your mission and about your work without you actually showing it and presenting it?
Mhm.
So I really thought that was important for me because it's something I experience every weekend.
That is so powerful, like to be the only woman in like a room and then have to be able to like prove yourself, right? So, do you have any like quick advice for any girls in that same situation?
I think it is important to catch your breath. So you should always think before you start speaking because people are really trying to find the little thing you say wrong or the little mistake in your sentence, and they always try to crush your confidence by it.
Mhm.
So I think to always straighten your posture, to keep your breath and think before you speak. I think that's the most important thing because um, they have to listen to you anyways. And when they listen to you, they always gonna just try to, well, yeah, I don't really care what she's saying. She's not in a position to tell me anything, to, um, yeah, bring to basically make me learn something new. So I think that's the most important thing for one, but also to prepare. I think preparing is the greatest thing you can do, really. So you can go in the room and really show them that you know what you're talking of, what you're speaking of, and what you're telling about, which is also just showing a great sign of confidence, but also intelligence, which we all are.
Oh,
Wow. That is a really, really wise and insightful piece of advice, Haven. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
that. And I'm wondering, you talked a little bit about the challenges that you faced prior to starting She Leads Too and how that inspired the start. And I'm wondering what new obstacles have come up since you started She Leads Too and how have you overcome those barriers?
I think the greatest challenge I've experienced actually telling people about it
mm-hmm.
and explaining them that, because it's very unusual for a 15-year-old girl to start something like that and reach so many people and try to engage other people from different countries. And it is just showing the people that you can go way beyond the limits and there's actually no limits.
Mm,
So I just try to explain it to, for example, my parents or just people at school, other people in my life. So I just try to find the words basically and just ask myself actually the same question: what am I actually doing?
mm.
And which also just gave me a way bigger insight of my actual mission. And I just grew beyond that.
Oh, I love that. That's like, I know a lot of people will can struggle with like sharing your accomplishments, right? Being like, hey, here's this really cool thing that I'm doing. So I'm glad that you're trying to kind of explain that to people because it really is awesome. So I now want to ask, we've heard about one of your biggest challenges. What's one of the biggest wins you've had so far with this organization?
The biggest win is probably having people from all around the world to work together. It's a great thing because all of us are basically in the same age range, and to know that there are people all around the world, and I don't know, in Singapore, in India, in the US, that just have the same dream as you
Mm,
or the same mission and interests, and to work with them together. It's also a great thing for me to make new friends,
mm.
because I mean, you don't really meet a person from another country every day and you get to talk to them. I think that's also a great thing about the internet. So I think that has just been the greatest win basically for me.
For sure. Yeah. Shout out to the internet. We wouldn't be doing this podcast without it. Right? But I want to ask, how important is it for you to have friends that are like-minded, to have like these girls who value the same things that you do?
um, it is, of course, very important. And I have also experienced a lot of time where I was alone with my ambition, and I've always struggled with that to find peers and people to who have the same interests as me, or I don't know, have the same interest in a certain language or in a certain sport, because everywhere I go, when I talk about it, always the males are really in that sport or in that language very active. So I think now with the people I've had the opportunity to meet um,
Mm.
through the internet, it was really great for me because I learned so much from them also, and I finally, could expand my knowledge through their knowledge, and everybody could learn from each other. So I think that's very important, and that's basically has been the greatest thing for me.
I think that's amazing that you found that supportive space of coaches, mentors, sponsors to help uplift you and continue the great work you're already doing.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering for girls who are still trying to find that supportive space, trying to find that space where there are like-minded women, different perspectives to support them, what would your advice be to them who are still seeking?
I think the greatest advice is to wait.
Mm.
And I think with time, everything comes itself. Um, really, the with time, you really get to know new people, and I think everything will find its own way, and you will find someone or a certain group of people, anyways. But maybe it's not this time right now. Maybe it'll be in a few months, maybe in a few days, or in a few years.
So just patience is the virtue here.
Yes,
Just a very
patience is the key.
just a very side question. If you like you just mentioned that you like finding people who like learning the same languages as you. How many languages do you speak? I'm like impressed here.
I speak 5 languages.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up with two, but yeah, I learned 3 new languages through school, and I'm currently learning Italian by myself.
What are the
So
five? What are the first five?
I can speak German, Turkish, English, Spanish, and well, you don't really speak Latin, but I know Latin.
Oh
So
my gosh. That's
yeah,
amazing.
That is so cool.
thank you,
Um,
thank you.
but yeah, I just want to talk about that a little bit too. You say you're involved in like again like these very academic spaces, these also these sports spaces too, because you're really into
Yes,
that. Again, like you mentioned, these are all very like male dominated spaces. Um,
yes.
how do you think we can change that? How do you think we can get more girls into these kind of environments?
I think by showing them that they exist
Mm,
and that other girls are always also there. And I didn't go into refereeing because I thought, yeah, there's another girl. I thought, yes, I love soccer and I just want to do more. I want to be more in that space. So I just did my license. But I think by placing a role model or by other already successful and professional soccer referees, for example, or players, that they basically can show how successful you can really get, and doing more campaigns with them, ads or other things, invite those girls or give them opportunities. I think that's the most important thing, though, so that can have the opportunity to talk to them, to ask them questions before doing such a big decision.
mm. Yeah, I love that. It's just the representation, right? That's like the important piece. And I guess it just
Yes.
leads back to what you do with She Leads too, like the whole theme around it. So just another question for you there. Like you're showcasing all these women to these like role models. Have you gotten any like feedback from these girls? Have you gotten any cute messages being like, "Oh, thank you so much for showing me this."
Um, so you're asking for my role model, or
Yeah, what's your role model too? Because like if you have a role model, you if you have a page showing these role models, clearly you must have one too, right?
I think my biggest role model has always been my mother
Oh.
because she's always also been very active in our community and doing so many voluntary work. But I've tried to find a role model for each passion I have
Mm,
so that I can learn from them. For example, I really am. I wanted to become more confident and with my looks, for example. So I just found someone or woman who really was in that way, who really showed on the internet, yes, I'm confident. How am I getting confident in the way I look? And but I think the most important thing is to be your own role model
mhm,
sometimes, because in the end, you're your own person and the you're just your accomplishments. Obviously you're way more than that,
mhm.
and I think it's also a great self-learning journey to get to know yourself better and the way you think, the way you work, because most of the times our thoughts are just thoughts we pick up from other people, and I think it's important to be more original with yourself.
That's a really good point to make. And I'm curious too now, you're talking about this idea of balancing yourself and your accomplishments. So how do you balance like leading a nonprofit, being an active athlete, like refereeing, like being a student? Like how are you balancing that out?
At first, it was really hard for me because it was new for me to have so many things at once. But I think planning and organizing through calendars and just writing also up the dates. But to be honest, I just try to sleep, and through the sleep, I gain basically the energy.
Mm.
So it's really important to me always to sleep at least 8 9 hours, and also with school to just to know, okay, after school I do that, and I'm gonna work on that, and plan it the day before, so I don't get confused and lost in all the work.
Absolutely. I feel like sleeping is one that's so incredibly important, but we don't hear enough because we're all
Yes.
skipping out on it. So I love that you brought that up, and I hope everybody listening right now gets their 8 hours. Um,
Yes, of course, sleep is very important, always.
Yeah, that's such practical advice that I think people ignore way too often.
Yeah, I mean, you're sleeping, you're processing all the information you have gained throughout the day.
Mm.
So why not sleep enough? You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's
it's
so true. Maggie, we have to take that
Oh
advice. We're
God.
gonna take a nap after this.
Yeah. You've given such great advice throughout this episode. Like, first of all, I just want to say it's all very practical, the things you're saying. Like take a moment to think before you talk, get your hours of sleep. It's not like the very general, like, you got this advice that we tend to hear a lot. So I just want to ask, like, do you have any other advice for the girls listening? Like, about anything, really?
I think the biggest advice would be like when you have a goal to, for example, my goal is to study abroad, so go to an Ivy League university someday, and so you have to do a lot of things for that. You have to be great at everything what you do, basically, while seeing all the other great applications and from the other applicants. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was just important to start. I started this organization, of course, with a thought behind it, but also just I thought, why not? Why not just do it? Why not just start it? Why not just plan it? And I see what becomes of it. If it's not working the way I wanted, then yeah, I try another. I
Mm-hmm.
try it again next time. And it's just to take action has been something that not
Mm-hmm.
many people are doing nowadays. I've experienced it with myself, with the other teenagers in my surroundings, that they just think, why should I do that? I don't really want to start it, and it's really a lot of work. But
Mm-hmm.
if you really just have the courage to take action, you will really um, get all the work you've put in it back by great things, for example, such as this podcast, but other things by learning new people, by reaching so many people and really doing impact.
I
Oh, I
love
love
that
that.
you took your genuine passion for it and then you said, why not? Let's
Mm-hmm.
just do it. There's definitely a fear of doing it a lot of the time. So,
For sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned that, if you do something wrong, you can just try it again. If it doesn't work, you can try it again. So how do you get over that initial kind of fear of failure, right? Like to be like, oh, I don't want to do something. What if it doesn't work out? Like, is there any advice for getting over that kind of anxiety?
Um, I've always struggled with the fear of failure, for example. I always want to be the best at something because I just believe you can be the best if you really try hard. And everybody has got their potential to be the best. And so for me, it was basically the loss. Losing is the greatest thing that can happen to someone. And I've also learned it on the hard way, but losing just shows what potential you actually have
Mm,
and how we can try better the next time. And by losing, I mean is you can cry. I mean, after getting a bad grade or something like that,
mhm,
you can cry. It's completely alright. But just wake up on the next day and try to find a solution to your problem and not just
mhm,
let it drain you.
mhm,
So I think that's some great advice that I've also practiced. But also when just I think sometimes it's great after a big loss to a failure, for example, if you just read something
mm,
you really like. Um, for example, of I like a certain. I mean, I love the Harry Potter series.
Mhm.
So whenever I am really sad, I just try to find something that makes me happy.
mm,
And whenever I read it again, sometimes I laugh and then I just feel the positive energy again and I'm really happy because I'm always happy while reading. So I think it's just find the source of your happiness and always try to find a solution to a problem. But it's always okay to be sad. I mean, you should not drain your feelings and not just push it in you. You should express it and learn by expressing it.
Absolutely. Haven, you've given such great advice throughout this episode and so many
Thank you.
insights into your organization as well. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And for the young girls watching, where can they find you? What's your at?
I didn't understand
So,
my
for the young
answer.
girls watching, where can they follow your work?
Um, the, they can follow my work by social media. Um, and obviously I'm just trying to post it most on She Leads Too, or I'm actually about to start a YouTube channel
Oh.
where I just be trying to post it because I think social media is
Mm.
it's the best thing, but also worst thing for some. But I think it's something great, and they can definitely reach me also per Instagram.
Mm.
I think I also be linking my Instagram on our caption
Mm.
in on the Instagram channel of well She Leads Too. So yeah, I mean I'm always open for questions.
That's so awesome that you're already planning for the future. I cannot wait to watch the YouTube videos. That is so cool.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's really nice of you. Really great, really. I mean, your work also just trying to reach out to girls who just really need that. For example, I had a bad day today, and then I remembered I have this podcast today, and then it just really made me happy. So thank you for giving me
Oh,
that happiness.
That makes us
so
happy.
glad.